Happy day after Thanksgiving. If you are in the U.S., I hope you celebrated it and spent a little bit of time to think about what you're grateful for. If you're outside the U.S., still take some time to think about what you're grateful for. In today's video, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. One, I wanted to talk about AI and how it can be helpful. I wanted to talk about the Trump effect based on the election and how will it impact your business. And I also wanted to give you a little bit of an insight into how the seller finance course is going. So we're 3 weeks into the seller finance course. It's a 6-week course. If you've missed the first 3, you can still join us for the remaining 3. They're Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. I do a presentation and we do a live Q&A. Both of those are live. But the previous weeks are recorded and in your Kajabi. So if you're interested in that, go over to brucewhipple.com, the boot camp and classes, and look at the Seller Finance Mastery program. So far, it's been well received. Best course that I've ever put out in terms of the interest level and purchases, and really a pretty important topic, seller finance. A lot of people worry, can they get financing? They don't have the down payment, their credit isn't good. Seller finance is a great option to that. Okay, so let's talk about the Trump effect. Let's talk about first what AI can do for you. Remember, AI is a tool, ChatGPT or whatever you use. So I want to talk about what ChatGPT said, and then I want to talk about some things that I did independent of that. So here's ChatGPT. How will a Trump administration impact your business and acquisition strategy? Talked about the regulatory environment, that it will be a more lenient regulatory landscape, which could boost mergers and acquisitions across various sectors. The shift may benefit not only mega cap tech companies, probably not you, but also services, private capital markets, infrastructure, and energy sectors. Some of that is you. Second one, interest rates. The Federal Reserve has implemented 2 rate cuts since September, with another expected soon. Lower interest rates could make financing for M&As more attractive, potentially leading to increased deal activity. You'll also see increased PE activity, I would imagine. Now remember, these are predictions. A lot can happen in the world and a lot can change in the world. Antitrust policies. The administration's approach to antitrust enforcement, which you're probably not going to run into initially, is expected to be more lenient, which could facilitate larger mergers that might have faced challenges under strict regulatory scrutiny. So you're not going to see that primarily, but in the initial stages. But later on, who knows, maybe you will. Tax policies, anticipated corporate tax cuts. That certainly was something in the run up to the election that the two sides were very different on. So could enhance profitability, providing companies with additional capital that could be used for acquisitions and expansions, certainly. The trade policies, the administration's America First agenda may impact cross-border deals, especially with potential tariffs on imports from companies like Canada and Mexico. This could affect supply chains and the cost structures of multinational corporations, including their acquisition strategy. But it could also have an effect on smaller companies. In summary, the Trump administration's policies are likely to create a more favorable environment for domestic mergers and acquisitions due to deregulation, lower interest rates, tax cuts. However, companies should remain vigilant regarding trade policies and potential geopolitical risks that could affect international business operations. So that's probably reasonably accurate. Again, you don't know what happens in the world, but that's what ChatGPT said. So what's Bruce Whipple say? Okay, so if I were looking at that Trump administration, there's a few things that are, I think, big deals. One is the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, that's going to come in. So if you were looking at the government in the United States, they buy an incredible amount of things. So in private industry, what you would do would be you would do a market test. You would end up saying, what do we buy? Let's put it out for bid and let's see what can happen. Frequently in business, that results in a 20% reduction if done right. And most of the big companies, I remember General Motors, not only did that, but they threw out, which was an integrity issue, threw out long-term contracts and said, we're going to start anew. So how does that impact you? Think about all the things they buy. Think about that they're going to be looking for cost reductions. Think about bidding on government contracts, certainly. So that's certainly a big one. The purchasing activity, I haven't heard anyone talk about that, but that'll be big. So keep your eyes open for that. Labor issues. If in fact we tighten up that border and there are less illegal, undocumented workers, there's already a labor issue. So how is that going to affect businesses in the United States? And usually where there's chaos, there's also opportunities. So think about that. U.S. business tariffs, if that turns out to be something that is not only negotiation with those countries, but in fact comes to pass, how's that going to affect supply chains? What opportunities are there for domestic companies? I've got a mentee that said, I don't really understand it. He's in the manufacturing space, but he said after the election, my incoming order rate went up 30%. So will there be a shift to buy U.S.? If you're in the U.S., you'll benefit from that very likely. Okay? And then something that I just don't know about, and that is there's certainly a shift from the cancel culture, woke environment. A lot of companies did things, those examples, Bud Light and things like that. And then what's going to change with respect to that? There's an awful lot of telecommunicating that has happened post-pandemic. Do we really need that anymore? What's happened with the government buildings? What impact will that have on real estate? So there's a lot of things in this. Remember, things like AI can be helpful, but use your board. Use the industry experts you have. Keep up on what the financial sectors are saying with respect to opportunities. This should be a very good time for what we do. Certainly there are people that are going to look at transitioning out of their businesses. Inflation is still such that people are looking for additional income, so they might be inclined to sell where they weren't previously and might be looking for some income in retirement, which again is seller finance. So think about those things. I hope that you think about what those opportunities will mean for your not only acquisition program, but if you have acquired a company, to think about how you can organically use those things to grow. Both of those sides of the equation are ones you should work. So we're close. We're almost into December. We will be looking to a new year certainly coming up. I hope that you look at that and say, what did I do in 2024? What am I planning to do in 2025? And take action on that. There are still a couple spots in the VIP Mastermind, so if that has interest, send me an email on that and we'll take a look and see if you're a fit for that program. But AI is a powerful tool. Remember, again, it's a tool. There are some things it does well. There's some things it doesn't. The things I pointed out, note, those were not pointed out in any way in that ChatGPT part that I read. So, okay, here's to a good December. Here's to a better 2025. And we will talk to you soon.